All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on a little piece of magic in the Django web framework. We're going to trace the journey from a simple URL all the way to a full-blown web page.
Think about it. You type a web address into your browser, you hit enter, and boom, a page appears. It feels instant, right? But behind the scenes, there's this incredibly fast, super precise sequence of events kicking off. So what is actually happening in that split second? Let's find out.
This whole process has a name. It's called the request-response cycle. And right at the heart of how Django handles this is a single file that acts kind of like a master traffic cop, telling every single incoming request exactly where it needs to go.
So here's how that journey breaks down in 4 simple steps. First, your browser shoots off a request. Second, Django's urls.py file, that's our traffic cop, grabs it and figures out where to send it. Third, it passes that request off to a specific function in a file called views.py to get the page ready. And finally, that function sends a complete response right back to your browser. That's the whole loop, from start to finish.
Okay, so to make any of this work, our very first job is to build the roadmap. We have to tell our traffic cop which roads even exist in our app. And we do all of that inside the urls.py file.
Now, when you first create a Django project and open this file up, you'll see it already has one route set up. This one's for the super powerful Django admin panel. We're just going to leave that alone for now and add our own custom roads right below it.
Let's say we want to create an about page. We'd add a new URL pattern that looks something like this. For right now, let's just focus on that first part, that weird-looking string, r²2about²$. This is the secret code that tells Django what URL to look for. That string is something called a regular expression, or regex for short. Now that might sound intimidating, but don't worry. It's just a powerful little language for matching text patterns. You don't need to be a regex wizard for Django, but knowing the basics is an absolute game changer. Let's break down the important parts.
First up, see that little R right at the beginning? That just tells Python to treat this as a raw string. It's a simple little instruction that basically says, hey, don't try to be clever with any backslashes in here, just treat them as they are. It helps avoid a lot of confusion.
Next is this little symbol, the caret. Think of it as an anchor for the start of the string. It tells the matching engine that the URL pattern must start right after the domain name. So mysite.com/about would be a match, but something like mysite.com/something/about would fail because it doesn't start with about.
And on the flip side, you've got the $sign. It's another anchor, but this one says the pattern has to end right here. Nothing can come after it. So when you use the caret and the $sign together, you're locking it in. You're demanding an exact match. Only /about/ and nothing else will work.
So what about the home page? You know, the root URL with nothing after it. Well, you can match that perfectly with a caret immediately followed by a $sign. If you think about it, this pattern literally means starts, has absolutely nothing in between, and then ends. It's the perfect, elegant way to match an empty URL path.
Okay, so we've mapped out all of our roads in urls.py. But a road isn't very useful if it doesn't lead anywhere, right? So now we need to build the destinations, the Python functions that will actually do something when a request comes in. In Django, we call these views. We're going to go ahead and create a new file called views.py, right next to our urls.py. And the very first thing we need inside of it is this import. HTTP response is a really simple tool that lets us send a basic response, like just plain text, back to the browser.
At its core, a Django view is just a Python function. It's really that simple. You just define a function, and it always has to take at least one argument, which by convention is always called request. You can think of this request object as a little bundle of information about the incoming request. And there's one golden rule. A view function must always return a response.
So here's our complete view for the About page. We define the About function, it takes the request object, and it immediately returns an HTTP response with the simple text About page. That's it. For now, this is our entire destination.
And we do the exact same thing for our homepage. We create a function called homepage, and it returns the text homepage. See? It's simple, it's clean, and now we have 2 destinations ready and waiting to receive some traffic.
Okay, so we have our roads in urls.py. We have our destinations in views.py. Now for the most important step, connecting them. This is the real aha moment, where the whole system just clicks into place. To make this final connection, we jump back into our urls.py file. First, we import our new views.py file.
Then for that second argument in each URL function, we replace the placeholder with the direct reference to the view function we just created. So the about URL now points to our Views about function, and the root URL points to Views homepage. Just like that, the connection is made. The traffic cop knows the route.
The code is written, the logic is sound, and all the connections are wired up. There's only one thing left to do. Let's fire up Django's development server and see our work live in the browser.
To do that, you're going to open your terminal, navigate into your project directory, and run this one simple command. This starts a lightweight web server right on your own machine, which is perfect for development and testing.
Once that server is running, your terminal will spit out this local address. Just copy and paste that right into your web browser, and you can see your Django application live.
And there it is. It works. When you visit that root address, Django's traffic cop sees the #stall pattern, directs the request over to our homepage view, and that view sends back the HTTP response we defined. Awesome.
Now let's try our other URL. We navigate to /about, and just as we expected, Django matches the @about/ pattern, calls the about view, and we get our about page text in the browser. The whole system is fully operational. So there you have it. That's the fundamental flow of a Django request. You now know how to map out the roads with URL patterns and how to build the destinations with view functions. Of course, you'll eventually want to replace that simple text with full HTML templates, but the core logic you've just learned, that's always going to be the same. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it?